The message is simple. Mobilize the vote and get out, because we have impact. We'll have impact. And we want to make sure that that message gets out to all of our people.
AFN National Chief Perry Bellegarde urged Aboriginal Canadians to vote in the election today, and he laid out his priorities for First Nations. Here's what he said. The AFN wants parties to strengthen First Nations families and communities by investing in education, training, and childcare on reserves. They want an inquiry into missing and murdered Aboriginal women, not surprisingly, and they want the next government to develop an action plan on the Truth and Reconciliation Commission's recommendations that were released earlier this year. Meanwhile, though, a new voice has emerged on the national scene, pushing for First Nations to get involved in this election. Canadian Ashley Callingbull was crowned Mrs. Universe this weekend, and she quickly jumped into the political debate. So what's her message to Aboriginal and non-Aboriginal Canadians? How is she planning to get First Nations to vote on October 19th? Joining me now from Toronto is Mrs. Universe 2015, Ashley Callingbull. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too.
So you won on Saturday, and it marked the first time that an Aboriginal woman and a Canadian took home that title. And then we got to Monday, and of course we're in the midst of this election. And one of the things that you did first was talk politics. Why did you decide you wanted to wade into that territory?
Well, it's a huge issue with First Nations people and Canadians, and I got so much attention. I thought, you know what, I'm going to use this media attention to speak about issues that need to be addressed. So it's perfect for me. I think it's good for me to voice other people's concerns, because the media doesn't just listen to anybody. So why not use this to my advantage?
Use it as a platform.
Yes.
Yeah, so the pageant itself, it focused on the theme of battling domestic violence, child abuse, something that you said that you've experienced personally. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how that pushed you to do what you're doing now and to try and use this platform?
Yeah, I actually grew up in poverty, and I was sexually and physically abused since I was 5 years old for felt like forever, and it took me a lot to grow from that and to heal from that. And I found out about this pageant, and its platform is domestic violence and reflection on children. So I thought, you know, this is a perfect way for me to share my story and help other women and children and men who are going through the exact same thing that I went through. And the difference between this pageant and a Miss pageant is that it doesn't judge you in a swimsuit. It doesn't judge you while you're on stage. It judges you on your charitable work and the work you do within your country, and how you could be a good role model and a good public speaker and activist for this cause. Right. So that's why I love it so much.
So today, the AFN outlined some election priorities. It looked at some swing ridings for Aboriginal voters. How important do you think this next election is for First Nations people, and how do you plan to get involved in it, other than just talking to me now?
You know, I think it is so important. I mean, it's so important for all the First Nations people to vote. A lot of people aren't even registered to vote, and I really think they should be. There's not a lot of places for them to vote, but they really need to go out, because we do have that percentage and that power to make the change and change for a new prime minister. There's a lot of issues that aren't addressed in First Nations communities, like, for example, the murdered and missing women that I've been talking about in every interview. There's just a lot of things that we aren't getting from the government. I believe that this government was created to work against us and not for us. There's just so many problems with it for First Nations people. We're always put on the back burner, and I don't agree with that whatsoever, and a lot of First Nations don't agree with it as well.
Other than the missing and murdered Aboriginal issue, what else? I mean, either from your experience growing up or from the people you know, what else would be the sort of critical area that has to be addressed by the next government?
Well, I think also with the housing for First Nations people, there's a lot of people who have bad housing infrastructures, and there's a lot of bad water. There's not clean water. Education is a huge issue. We do need that money to regain our culture back, our language. Also with the environmentally, with the pipelines, it's really difficult and really awful for our people. Like, for example, with the bills that have been passed, we are being treated like terrorists if we're fighting for our land and our water. It's our right to, and now we're being treated like terrorists if we do anything about it, and it's ridiculous.
And so do you particularly blame the Conservative government for this treatment? Do you think it would look different under another government?
I think things could be changed if people do vote. Like, you never know what's going to happen, but just the way that things have been going for the past 10 years, it hasn't been going very well for First Nations people in particular. And I'm hoping that other Canadians can see that, how we are being mistreated by this government, because it's so wrong on so many levels. And I feel that, you know, we are human beings and we should be treated equally amongst all Canadians.
Today, the AFN National Chief, Perry Bellegarde, he made a statement in his press conference that he doesn't vote, that he believes that in his leadership capacity, that he shouldn't, you know, take a position, even if it's a confidential position. And yet, he's out there trying to encourage First Nations people to vote. Do you think that that is a problem, to see someone in that kind of leadership role publicly admitting that he's not voting, given what you're talking about?
Well, you know, that's his own personal opinion. Like, I think everyone should vote because, you know, it could always take one vote to make a huge difference. But, you know, that's his own personal opinion. And I could see, like, where he's coming from, why he doesn't want to even take that position to vote. He doesn't want to participate in that. Yes, that's fine. But I personally am going to vote because I know just one vote can make a difference.
How hard is it, do you think, though, to get First Nations people to vote? We know that their turnout rate is certainly lower than the general population. How do you get them engaged and willing to go out there and actually do it?
Well, you know, I think a lot of First Nations people are just really disappointed with the whole system itself, and a lot of people don't take the initiative to vote. And a lot of people that do speak out on voting, they're not heard, and that's why I'm using this platform to, you know, speak up and let them know that they should vote, you know, bring more awareness to it as I possibly can, because it's so crucial that we vote. We have that power to make change, so everyone should get out there and register as soon as they can, because October 19th is coming very quickly.
Is there a party that's attracting you more than another right now? Clearly you have issues with the Conservative Party, but is there a party that's appealing to some of the stuff you're talking about?
I do have a few ideas, a few interests in certain parties, but I'm not gonna state
Endorse
which
anyone.
one I am yet, because I haven't like personally decided what I'm gonna lean more towards. Yeah. But you know, I know who I'm not voting for. So.
And that's the Conservative Party.
I really hope that everyone does vote, you know, and look into everything about all the parties and really educate themselves on the voting situation. It's important.
Last question, given this platform that you've created for yourself, and obviously you're not hiding away from being political, any interest in doing the job, in maybe running at one point and being a politician?
You know what, I never even thought about that, but a lot of people are asking me, they're like, you should be more involved with that, because, you know, I like to speak out. I'm a very outspoken person and I speak my mind, and you never know what will happen. Like, as a child, I never knew I'd become Mrs. Universe. You never know what's going to happen for me in the future, so expect anything.
Stay tuned. Thank you. I appreciate you coming on the show. Appreciate it very much.
Thanks.
That's Mrs. Universe 2015, Ashley Callingbull Burnham. Thanks.